In this video, we'll be looking at question 1.4 from 5003. You should have read the scenario and know that this question is asking you to explain how you'd recognize and raise concerns about unethical behavior and illegal activity in the workplace, focusing on your approach rather than just describing the issues themselves. Before we dive into the approach, I need to remind you that this video provides general guidance on how to tackle this type of question. It doesn't give you the answers. You'll need to do your own research, analysis, and critical thinking. With that said, let's walk through how to approach this step by step. First things first, start by looking for the command verb in the question. In this case, it's explain. So, you're not just listing issues or describing what happened. The focus is on how you'd actually recognize and raise these concerns, keeping both ethical and legal considerations in mind. Pay attention to keywords like unethical behavior, illegal activity, raise, and approach. The question wants to know about your process, not a general overview of HR interventions. Now, here's the thing. You need to show judgment, not just description. Don't just retell the scenario. Instead, weigh up the different ways you could raise concerns. For example, you might compare reporting issues directly to a manager versus using formal escalation channels. Think about what might happen next for the people involved and for the organization as a whole. Use phrases that show you're evaluating. Point out what works well about your approach and what could be tricky. Take into account how staff, managers, and leaders might see things differently. And always back up your choices with clear reasons. Think best practice and professional standards. When it comes to planning your answer, start off with a short introduction that explains why tackling unethical and illegal behavior quickly is important, especially in a growing organization. Then, split your main discussion into two. One part should cover how you'd approach the unethical behavior, and the other should focus on the illegal activity. Try to spend roughly the same amount of time, or word count, on each. Wrap up with a brief summary that brings it all back to your ethical and legal responsibilities. Make sure every paragraph does three things: introduces a clear point, backs it up with evidence or references, and links back to what the assessment criteria are asking for. As you write, keep the assessment criteria front and center. You need to show you can spot issues that go against ethical values or legislation, and explain when and how you'd raise them. It's a good idea to refer to things like organizational policies, relevant laws, codes of conduct, and concepts like whistleblowing. Emphasize the need to follow proper procedures, keep things confidential, and highlight what could happen if you don't act. For your evidence, pick 2 or 3 academic or professional sources that talk about ethical behavior in organizations, whistleblowing, or legal compliance in HR. When you paraphrase ideas, use Harvard referencing. That means including in-text citations and a reference list at the end. Remember, it's not about throwing in lots of references. Use them at key points to support your arguments. Here's another key point. Connect theory to the scenario. If, for example, you're talking about whistleblowing frameworks, show how these relate to the specific examples in the case study. Explain how theory shapes your approach and use details from the scenario to show what this might look like in real life. Make sure it's clear that your analysis is grounded in professional standards and what's actually happening in the organization. If you're aiming for top marks, go for depth over breadth. It's better to talk about a few points in detail than to skim over lots of ideas. Show critical thinking, talk about the complexities, consider different viewpoints, and always give reasoned, evidence-based judgments rather than just making assertions. Finally, keep your writing clear and concise. Stick to content that's directly relevant to the question and stay within the word limit. Use short, purposeful sentences and avoid saying the same thing twice. Make sure each paragraph has one main focus and helps answer the question. Reading your draft out loud is a great way to check that your answer sounds clear and makes sense. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos in this series. Check out the other tutorials for more tips on tackling your assessments.